Hi everyone, I'm the director for our New Zealand registered not-for-profit educational charitable trust called Common Knowledge. And I'm also a naturopath for 50 years, and I contracted COVID in March of 2020 and had a 20-day experience with it at home in New Zealand, sort of prior to testing, prior to really knowing what to do. And I self-cared. If you go back to the first or second videos in this series, you'll find attached to the different long haul groups where I've posted our COVID protocol for self-help. So I read the forums I'm involved with, and I want to do, if I can, a gentle old woman, experienced naturopath, a bit cranky, okay? The medical profession, who are they made up of? Women and men. They might be our sisters or brothers or mothers or fathers, uncles, aunts, our children, our cousins. And they don't know what to do. They're working on it. A lot of emphasis has been placed on having vaccines, which we now have. These vaccines don't prevent you from getting COVID. They just really prevent you from dying or getting terribly, terribly, terribly sick, which is very good. However, the disease can still be in our environment, and because we can still catch it, it can still mutate into variations, and over time will determine whether the vaccines are able to deal with the variants that are coming out. I don't know. As a naturopath with 50 years of experience, I can't treat, prescribe, or diagnose, which I never wanted to do. I don't want to be responsible for anyone else's health except my own and my family's. And this is where I'm going to be cranky. You need to start to take care of yourself. Some of you are going to use medical care, and our trust, Common Knowledge, supports everybody using anything that you want. All at once, sequentially, doesn't really matter. So if the doctors are prescribing things that are helping you, yippee, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That doesn't mean you can't also help yourself with the things that they can help you with. And if you're not being helped by the doctors, don't blame them. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame COVID. Just start to look around. So my cranky today is to show you how easy it is to look around and why we need to do this. There is no symptom, literally no symptom, no long haul symptom, no symptom that is absolutely unique to COVID. In other words, when we got COVID, our foot didn't suddenly grow out of our ear, or our lungs didn't come out of our nose and sit in front of our chest, even though we feel they do. All of the symptoms and all of the post-symptoms are things any of us could have had before, and most of us haven't, but we could have any of them. I have a list of bunches, 20, 30, stuffed nose, oppression in the chest, breathlessness, varicose veins, red spots, hair loss, itching, stress, headaches, palpitations, dizzy, diarrhea, constipation, fast heart rate, night sweats, chilly, cold hands, red knuckles and fingers are blue, dry cough, getting better then getting worse, or thrush in the mouth or sore mouth. Those are just symptoms. All of us get them. Different times in our life, maybe none of us get them. But they are all symptoms. And they can be episodes. In other words, you can have a stuffed nose worse in the morning and better in the afternoon, or when you lie down at night. You can have hair loss for a period of time, and then it stops. It can't continue the rest of your life, because once you get bald, you're not going to have hair loss. And you can talk to people of alopecia. They lost their hair until they got bald. Palpitations, very common. Dizzy, very common. Diarrhea, very common. Constipation, fast heart rate, night sweats, all of these things. I talk to a lot of women who go through menopause or have their menstrual periods. So my cranky, and I'm going to go into a cranky, is that we need to see many of these things as just things that all of us get, and therefore we have power. And that's what I've put in the description here. And I'm going to talk about this power because I'm a natural health practitioner, which means I don't do medical things, not because I don't like medicine or I'm anti-medical. I didn't want to. And it doesn't mean that all natural things work. It means that when I became a natural health practitioner in 1970, Google did not exist. Getting information about wellness was hard to get. Being very specific was very much harder to get. We used books. Oh, just think about that. I had a library of probably 500 books. I spent a lot of time reading books. And I don't read well. I now have a library called a computer, and it's called Google Library. I might have issues with antitrust issues with Google or Amazon. I do. I can't help it. Facebook, I have big issues with what Facebook's done or Twitter has done about the use of tabloids in order to get people stirred up politically, and the inciting of fears and hates and angers. I have big issues with this. However, I found you guys, and I don't have a big issue with the long haul groups. I have a big issue with our collective sense of the first generation of people that have long haul symptoms, that we're helpless about doing anything. And I spent 25 of 50 years being very, very, very quiet, because I'm actually involved in a field called pregnancy and childbirth. And in the early 70s, with hundreds of mothers and fathers, developed a universal way to prepare our body for childbirth. And that went against the grain of birth advocates who believed that women instinctively know how to birth. So for 25 years, from the 70s to the 90s, I went around the world and talked about how important it is for all of us when we're pregnant. It's just natural to self-learn skills. That didn't go over big in the trend, which was we should just choose, and that it's natural and instinctive, and we know how to birth, and cows and cats aren't taught. And then in the 1990s, I just got fed up. I could not impact a broad conversation. So I retreated behind our trust. We put out online birthing classes, of which there are 12 if you have any interest in birthingbetter.org. It's birthing better, like you can birth better. So that's a hint. So when I got COVID, I got stuck into helping myself right away. And that's the protocol I posted on the long haul groups in the first and second videos, and then was asked not to continue to post, which is fine. But you need to have access to it. So go back to the first of the playlist on YouTube, under our YouTube Birthing Better, I think it's Birthing Better 1, or Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation, and you'll find the playlist on COVID long haul symptoms. So for me, when I got sick, I self-treated. Did I cure myself? Did I eliminate the virus? No. First of all, at the beginning, I reduced the viral load by cleaning out my nose and gargling. And then I helped my body by oral rehydration constantly, just making it up myself and washing off the yucky feeling. And I did lots of breathing exercises because I'm a Buteco and Oxygen Advantage breath coach. And I looked around, goodness, YouTube, and found breathing exercises that I could use. And there are 2 really good ones on the COVID self-help protocol that I posted. One's Shaolin, the other one's done by nurses in the UK. Different, they serve different purposes. And so I can't respond to everybody who gets onto these long haul things and says, I have a headache, anybody else have one? And then a whole bunch of responses, yes, I do, I can't stand it. And then I think, for goodness sake, cranky me, we've got to self-help. And we've got to use these forums to talk about the things we've done to self-help. Will they help everybody? Will they cure, eliminate all these symptoms all the time? No. And what I've talked about in other videos are episodes. So if you have headaches over your eyes, they won't be for 24 hours, even though you feel they are. They may be worse in the morning. They may slightly go away in the afternoon. They may come back when you lie down. Those are called episodes. When they're worse, that's an episode. Your job is to try to reduce the intensity of the episode that's driving you nuts and decrease how long they're lasting that's driving you nuts and increase the space in between where you feel you're getting better. But you know then what people say on the COVID things? I felt great yesterday and now I feel terrible. Am I ever going to get over this? Yes, in time, right? However, you've got to work to reduce these symptoms, decrease the length of time, and increase the space in between. And you may have to do that, like me, for months and months and months and months. Do I have despair about it? Yeah, then I reduce my stress. Do I feel nothing's working? No, I just modify, or I look for something else and try something else. Can I access this stuff? I live in Mexico. Hard to get things into Mexico. Yep, I can. Mexico, I can get homeopathics. I can get herbs. I'm not always certain about what they are, but I use a shipping service. And do I sometimes use Amazon that I'm really cranky about? Yes, I do. But what I want to do to talk to you today is how easy it is for you to find things when you search online. What you need to do is be specific, particularly when you're searching for self-help things. Basically, if you just went headaches, you're going to get all sorts of stuff on headaches. If you then search acupressure, which is usually self-help, for headaches, you'll get something else. And down below on the description, all I did was pick the first thing on the page. That's all I did, was pick the first thing on the page. So the first thing on the page in Mexico, which is Google Mexico, may not be the same thing on your page, is a healthline.com, pressure points for headaches. Why not try them? Why not see what works? Why not have somebody you love do them on you? So then I went through the list of symptoms because, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of symptoms. But we're not growing our feet out our ears. Our lungs haven't come out of our nose and sit on top of our chest. We may have red fingers and COVID toes, but you know what they look like? Frostbite. Which means that we have to deal with things as though they are common symptoms gathered together for uncommon reasons. You don't actively have COVID, although we don't know whether the COVID virus is still damaging our body. Our job is to reduce the metabolic load of the virus in our body and then to start to heal the parts of our body where we've had damage or where we have problems. So I looked up tingling and I found tingling sensation, 5 simple home remedies to ease numbness in hands and feet. Why not try? I looked up heart palpitations. It came from Medicine News Today. So if you're a person who's very into medical stuff, it may help you to find things. And you don't have to just look on the first page. There will probably be 20,000 pages. And you might try things and go, well, that didn't work. Well, that's good. That didn't work for you. Doesn't mean it didn't work for someone else. So when I hear people on these long haul pages go, I tried everything, nothing worked. No, you haven't yet learned the skill of paying attention to subtle changes. And you may be dosing yourself as though you were taking medicines. So when we get a prescription for prednisone or an antibiotic, we're told take once a day, twice a day, and you take it for 10 days. If you feel better after 7 days, don't stop. Natural remedies aren't like that. You're looking specifically to reduce the episode of the symptoms at that moment and hopefully reduce the length of time the episode of those symptoms is lasting. This is clearer when you're doing homeopathics or acupressure rather than herbs. If you have herbs take them out of the cap, sprinkle them into warm water, and sip them, because the information goes from our proprioceptive cells up into our brain in 1/1500 of a second. So if you're feeling stressed and you find some stress herbs or adaptogens that help you adapt to your environment, internal and external, and you open up that capsule, put it in warm water, and sip it, and you go, ick, don't like the flavor, I'll be cranky. Either don't take it or take another sip and just hold it in your mouth. You do not have to like the taste. It's a question of not liking the taste, and if it helps, balancing that with not liking the episodes and the symptoms. Your choice, not mine. Modern people are very risk averse, and we like things very sugary and sweet. We don't like to work very hard. We often like to complain and bitch, and we expect them to fix us. However, we are the first generation of long-haul people. We have an obligation to the future that we begin to self-help, just as we did with the protocol that says as soon as you think you feel you have it, start to gargle with warm salt water 3 to 5 times a day, wash your nose out with warm salt water so it dribbles out the other side 3 to 5 times a day, mix up slightly sweet, slightly salt of warm oral rehydration, drink 3 to 5 quarts or liters 3 to 5 times a day. Do breathing exercises to keep your lungs open. Take showers to wash off this yucky thing. If you're chilled, get hot water bottles and curl up with them. If you're tired, rest. If you're coughing, use the breathing things. Don't lie on your back. So I looked up heart palpitations. As I said, medical news today. I looked up itching. A lot of people, there you go, itching. I looked up Peace Help, that's a hospital group in the United States. They have a bunch of homeopathics for itching. Oppressed breathing, Times of India has an article about home remedies. Press these 5 acupressure points to get relief from asthma symptoms. Your oppressed breathing may not be diagnosed as asthma. It's breathlessness. And you can go into YouTube and find a bazillion breathing skills for breathlessness or asthma. Varicose veins, Kaiser Permanente, another hospital group in the United States that has homeopathic remedies for that. So what you need to understand is you have power. You have capability. You have Google. You have Amazon. You have your health food store. You have online shopping. You have all those things. And what's holding you back? You. Honestly. The you who isn't looking because you don't know that you should, and you are not to blame for that. You are not to blame for the governments and health departments around the world telling you specific things to prevent yourself getting it. Cough here. New Zealand, we didn't have masks, so we didn't mask up. We kept a distance, right? We did the things that government said. Keep a distance, try to self-isolate, which is driving people absolutely nuts. But we have a choice, and we just let it stream through the community. I mean, think if we had no medical care anywhere, what the death rate would have been on this. And it's taken the medical care long time to get people off their backs and onto their bellies. And all of the energy has been put into vaccinations that don't even stop us from getting the disease, and almost no attention into treatment, which is a problem. HIV, for example, when I grew up, still is 100% fatal. There's never been a vaccine for HIV. They've gotten better at treating it, so now people can live to my age with HIV. So the emphasis hasn't yet been on treatment. It's been on vaccination. So when the medical and the government said, this is how you avoid catching it, don't go into big groups and stuff like that. When you felt you got sick, across the world, they basically said, go home, isolate, don't do anything. You don't want to overwhelm your health system. That is what scared people. And that's why we put out the protocol. And I was really cranky then. I knew that gargling with warm salt water and flushing out your nose was not going to cure me or eliminate COVID. But it sure, don't use that word online, it sure was going to help reduce the viral load at those beginning 3 days, 5 days, when the virus is multiplying in the wound in the back of my head. Just as if I cut myself, in every culture in the world they tell you to keep it clean. Not because you eliminate it or cure it, but because you help your body deal with it. The oral rehydration. Almost everybody going into the hospital is dehydrated. They put you on a drip. Why do they put you on a drip? Because you have not been told by your health department and your government to drink oral rehydration. Don't get the bottled ones. You're using plastic, for God's sake. Make it up. Slightly sweet, preferably non-iodized, no artificial sweetener, slightly salty, not iodized if possible. And then warm, because you don't want your body to have to warm up something cold. That's self-help. Taking a shower when you're sticky, that's self-help. Realizing that we have acupressure. You may think, well, the doctors haven't approved of that. You're right. They don't have to approve of everything. That's why we run a trust called Common Knowledge. Right? It doesn't have to work for everybody. Homeopathics may be a placebo. If you feel better, who gives a damn? Oops, said that. Okay, so what do I want to leave you with? All I did was to look up symptoms, be specific, and I picked the first link. Thousands. And I didn't even go to YouTube. I just did it on Google. So what do I want to leave you with? Encouragement, determination. A saying that's coming out of the Poor People's Campaign in the United States that's put out the moral budget, line for line. If we pay for universal child care, it costs X amount of money, and this military object's costing X amount of money. It's the value in our society. And their slogan is, onward together and not one step back. And that fits this first generation of COVID long-haul people. We've got to go onward together, not one step back, and we have to start to really look around and find the things that can help us individually to reduce the intensity of the symptoms and the episodes, decrease the length of the symptom in the episode, and increase the space in between. And we have to be generous to helping other people understand. So if we take a homeopathic remedy for headaches here, it's called Iris versicolor. It's not a common remedy. Okay, let's pick another one, because you'll go, well, it's not a common remedy, I can't get it. Yeah, you can buy it online through Amazon. But let's take acid reflux, which is not on the description. A lot of us got acid reflux. Really irritating. Some people are taking medicines, over-the-counter stuff or prescription stuff. That's fine, whatever you want. I ferreted around trying to do lots of things. Ginger tea didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Changing my diet, which doesn't matter with me. I can do that, but I can't last for a long period of time. I had no connection between what I was eating and having that experience. Tended to be worse at night. So I looked at homeopathic remedy, symptoms worse at night. That's why I Googled in. Well, I knew what it was. It was potassium sulfate. Kind of, right? Then I went back to another homeopathic tissue salt, NatPhos, sodium phosphate. It's for acidic conditions and heartburn. Instantaneously worked. And I mean within 5 minutes. And it has continued to work, and the episodes of acid reflux have decreased. Will it work that fast for you? Do you care whether it's a 6x or a 12x or 30x? No, or C? Nope, don't care. Can you get it? Yep, online. If you have to use Amazon, get it. So if you use NatPhos for acid reflux, then let people know you're using it and tell them more specifically. Well, I found out it worked in the morning, but it didn't work in the evening, and I'm going to try the Kali Sulf in the evening. Okay, that worked a little bit better. No, it didn't quite work, so I need to refine it a little bit more. But when it works, something will have a positive change. Your responsibility is to pay attention. When we take an antibiotic, we don't pay attention. We just take it every 6 or 12 hours. We pay no attention. We need to pay better attention. When people are taking over-the-counter things for acid reflux or getting a prescription, they're trying to cure or fix it. No, we're trying to reduce the episodes of the symptoms and decrease how long they last and increase the space in between. So if you're taking over-the-counter stuff for acid reflux and you're a heavy coffee drinker or a heavy tea drinker, it may be that you like coffee. I can't tell you to stop taking coffee. Would you be willing to look for a coffee substitute and just put 1 tablespoon of that into your coffee and then 2 tablespoons? I don't know. It's all about self-help and passing on to others what we're doing. I'm going to stop ranting. Thank you for listening and see you later.